Hey guys, welcome back. So today's gonna be a little bit of a different video. So on here, I'm using Shaper 3D, and I've been trying to design a few firearm accessories. And after this I'm just gonna show you the digital renderings and just kind of show you a little more in depth of how I went through and created these items. And then I'll attach a video at the end of this showing 3D printed versions, and I'm actually trying to get some of these machined from aluminum, so we'll see how these turned out. I got a small portion of one of them done that you'll see, but starting in here, this is just a hand stop, barricade stop, whatever you want to call it. So it's nothing too crazy. It is designed to be for M-LOK, and you can see it right here. Have the tabs. It's a single bolt. I have it on a hand guard just for testing purposes, and it seems to be very firm, and it is just a 3D printed one. I've kind of bumped it against a few different desks, door jams and stuff like that, just testing it out just to see the strength of it, because I was a little concerned about these tabs just because I've never created anything like this. But so far it's doing great. And if I'm just using normal PLA, if you guys are familiar with 3D printing at all, to create these. So it's not the strongest thing in the world by any means, and it is holding up, and I'm not straight abusing it or anything like that. But I would like to get this, maybe some injection molding done if I get these things going and I can actually make something that's really nice, and then possibly start selling these. So this is the hand stop. Like I said, nothing too crazy. It's just big enough to, you can grab onto it or pull back onto it, so you can pull that firearm into your shoulder, or you can face it forward. So these grooves right here can dig into, a barricade or a door or whatever you guys are trying to mount up against. And these aren't rigid at all, but it is enough texture to where it grips onto something. So the next one, once I get it loaded in here, these are all like some Star Wars stuff I'm working on for a friend. But this is a dual Optic Mount, dual mounting system. A lot of people have seen like the Hydra mounts and stuff like that. So I'm trying to create my own. And this one, a little more universal just because it has the top Picatinny right here, so you can attach a lot of different optics to that, different red dots. And then typically you'd put your laser system up in this general area, right? Or a light, whatever you got, and then red dot up here. So going through here, I cut off a lot of openings, just trying to reduce some of the weight, because if this gets machined out of aluminum, I don't want, a pretty heavy piece before you even throw an optic out of there. So you can very vaguely co-witness iron sights through here if you have it on an AR platform. It's not the best thing in the world. You're not going to be shooting super crazy distances, but something up close, it is fast enough, because you just have to look down just a little bit and you can see through the front sight post and everything like that. So yeah, as you can see, got a lot more cut out here, and it's pretty much just duplicated all the way around. Here's the front end of it. I rounded off a lot of the edges, so there's really no sharp corners. The only ones that are not really jagged, but that are somewhat sharp could be here. They are rounded, or beveled, whatever you want to call it, but it's nothing too crazy. So as you can see down here, it looks like I'm missing a piece. Sorry, I had it isolated. So this is all the work that went into it. A lot of measurements, a lot of time, a lot of different designs that I've created. And let me see if I can get rid of some of this stuff that's in the area. All right, so we'll just isolate the object itself, get rid of all the measurements, and now you can see. All right, so these are just designed to use some standard hex nuts, right? They would slip right into here. I don't know them off the top of my head. I have them set up, and I'll try and put that in the other portion of the video. And then the cap bolt or cap screw, whatever you want to call it, is actually recessed in here, and I made these a little thicker just so they are stronger, because this side will it will come off, right? So if I click on it, I can move it out, right, and it's cut all the way down, and that's how it actually clamps to the top of the AR. So it uses clamping force. I thought about designing maybe like a locking tab somewhere right in this general area, so you can put it onto a set Picatinny rail, and then you can mark that, and you can mark the rails that it was in between. So if you guys ever removed it and you kept a red dot on there, you could put it back on and hopefully it retains 0. I haven't tested it, but that's something I'm looking forward to in the future. But yeah, this is pretty much all I got for this. The other part of this video is going to be the actual the physical pieces that I printed off, so stick around. All right, so here are the actual physical models that I've printed off. As you can see, this is the dual mount, this is the Barricade stop. You can flip it around if you wanted your hand pressed against it, but I have it kind of a nice bevel right here. So when your hand is in there, it's quite comfortable. There's no sharp edges or anything like that because it is fully rounded all the way around. And you can see how far down that cap screw is actually recessed. There's a small gap, so you can't even feel the top of it. And then this is those ridges I was kind of talking about, right? So they're pronounced enough to where they're gonna bite into something, but it's not sharp. Like I can drag my fingers across and it doesn't hurt. There's no sharp edges on it or anything like that. But it's going to allow you to kind of bite into something. And granted, this isn't a great demonstration, but here's a 1x4, but you can press it into there. Oops, sorry, not focusing very well, but you can press it in there, and then if you're at one of these notches, right, you can kind of see how it will lock in if you're kind of shooting down at an angle, if you want it all the way down, or for some reason you're all the way up top. But there's a lot of different points on there to where it can kind of grip, and it'll bite into that piece of wood or whatever that object is that you're trying to place it against, right? So the mount, it's nothing too crazy. As you can see, those are the nuts. They are recessed in there. The actual bolts are sticking through. Obviously this is just for testing purposes, and I was trying to get a nice fit on there, so I'd have to get the correct sizes for these. Just a few millimeters smaller, nothing too crazy. And up here you can kind of see that's the angle right there. So before this model was out, there's been some changes. Obviously you can see in here you can't co-witness, right? So the digital model, I cut a lot of that out still, and you can co-witness. This one does not have it. This was one of my, this is probably my 5th 3D print that I did of this mount. I've made tons of changes. If you guys wanna see that, I can do a future video on it and show you all the changes and different modifications I've made to this along the way. But up here I did bevel these a little bit more because once I actually had this printed and could feel that, I was like, okay, that's a little too jagged right there. So if you're some reason you're jamming your hand in there, I don't think it would necessarily, unless you had your thumb like that, but if you're up here like that, like you don't feel it anything when you're gripping it. So you can get a C grip on there still if that's your shooting preference, whatever the style is. And as you can see, a little dirty here, but this piece I actually got machined out of aluminum. So this is one I already got done, and it turned out really good. So this is that part that actually clamps on there, and you can see there's some overlap. So this has some supporting weight. If pressing down, it's actually sitting on that ridge right here, going down. Hopefully you can get a good look at it. But I'll try and use this. But even back in here, it's kind of angled. I don't know if I have the correct side. Oh, look at that. So I'll take these off just so you can get a better look of what I'm talking about. And as of right now, I know there's a lot of guys that are out there 3D printing. This is not anything I've posted anywhere. This is a project I'm solely working on by myself for now. Maybe in the future, if this is getting a lot of traction, maybe this is something I'll kind of go into the future, releasing files or something if you wanted to 3D print your own mounts. Now I'm sure if you use like ABS or some sort of stronger material, it would probably work out pretty good. But as of right now, I'm not going to do that. So we'll see what happens in the future. But, so you can see it just sits on top of the rail, nice and snug, and it's hard to get a look, but you can see the bolt holes right there and there. You slide these through and it locks it down, right? So this is kind of like the ridge. Take it off. Hopefully you can see that. That's the ridge I'm talking about. So you get good locking in there, and you get that downward pressure too, to where it's actually going to go onto that aluminum rail. and it kind of locks in there. So good biting force in there, downward pressure. I think it was super important. Even overlaps right here. That way, for some reason, if you bang this, it's not going to bend it down, or it's not going to flex very much if it does at all. This is the aluminum piece. I use Xometry. If anyone's interested in getting their own stuff machined, I did use Xometry. It is kind of pricey when you're using your own piece or just getting one piece made, but the more you get done, the cheaper it is. And obviously with this just kind of being a prototype, you know, prototypes are very expensive and the upfront cost, so that's the price you pay. But it did turn out great. I tried finding a local shop here in North Carolina, and they were asking like thousands of dollars to make this whole thing. So I just don't have that kind of money, so I am holding off on that right now. And but yeah, I think it turned out good. If you guys have questions, or if you guys have any input, I would love to hear back on a design like this. If you guys are interested, if you guys have different pointers and tips, tricks that you could, you know, that you have out there, you're interested in, and just please let me know in the comments. So like that locking block I was talking about, if I pick this up, putting something like right in here, right? So that when you put it on here, if you have your rails marked, this is just a super cheap handguard, and you wouldn't necessarily mount the optic on there. You'd put it on the actual receiver of the firearm, but just for demonstrations and me for checking for fitment, I use the handguard. But you could put like a locking block right in here, right? So that it removes any chance of it going back and forth, which there's really no chance of that happening with the nuts being in here, or sorry, the bolts. But there's still, you can see there's still a little bit of play. So if these, you know, ended up coming loose or something, put both of them in there, there is a very small chance that it may rock back and forth, which obviously with rifles, any firearms, you don't necessarily want that happening. So again, if you guys have any pointers, here's the barricade stop. This looks like crap because I printed it this way. I guess this way, if this was the print bed, it printed like that. So this was all where the supports were. And like I said, I'm not super particular about it. This was all for fitment and feel, just so I could test it. And I actually had to make these little M-LOK tabs a little bit bigger. So that's what I did with this one. And I recessed that bolt down just a little bit more. You can see how shallow that one is. So it stuck out a good bit. But yeah, you know, like, comment, subscribe. It's free to subscribe, so you know, why not hook up the boys? And if you guys got comments, please leave them down below, and I'm super interested to hear back. Thanks.